Today's episode is brought to you by Wonder Wigs, home of the most natural looking pre-plucked wigs, frontals, bundles, and more. I'm talking about top quality, grade A hair, y'all. Make sure you check them out at wonderwigswithaz.com. Thanks for tuning in to the Real Women Chronicles podcast. I am your international certified life coach, Tiaudra Taylor. The sole purpose of this podcast is to get you from where you are now to where you want to be. Yes, it's time to break chains and to get unstuck. Thanks again for joining in. Let's begin.
Hello. Thank you guys for joining in to yet again another Real Women Chronicles podcast. As always, I am your host, certified life coach Tiaudra Taylor. And today, y'all, I am super excited. I am here. I'm joined with a special guest, Nadia Stanley. And let me tell y'all something, okay? Her resume is impeccable. She is a true definition of a go-getter, okay? She has tons of experience working with different folks all across different industries. And most of all, our topic for today will be her new book that she will be dropping any day now. Correct, Nadia?
Yes. Well, it's available, but it's really not being promoted until January. So this is a real exclusive I wanted to give you guys.
Oh, yay! And I'm so excited. The new book is entitled, I Know Why You're Single, Sis. And let me tell you guys, I have read the book and it is a must read. Like, it just seems like one best friend. It really is, Nadia. I've really enjoyed it. I feel like we were like,
thank you.
Soul sisters. Like, oh, the book was a great book and it was an easy read, y'all. So I am just super happy to have you joining us today. Thank you, Nadia, for coming on.
Oh, no, thank you for opening up your platform. I'm so glad I found you. And trust me, Soul Sisters is for real, because it's such a blessing to see other, just Black intelligent women uplifting people. And I'm super excited to talk about this today.
Well, thanks again. And I'm going to just go ahead and let you have the floor. Now, for those who do not know you, give us a little background of yourself, what you've done, what you're doing now, what you plan on doing, all that good stuff.
Yes, and most people shouldn't know me. Like, I actually enjoy that. I'm totally behind the scenes. I've been a TV producer for over a decade. Just grueling in the worlds of reality TV somewhat. I co-produced the last season of Hell's Kitchen, which is a very cool TV show that comes out on Fox with Chef Gordon Ramsay.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and then I spent a couple years at Ryan Seacrest Productions, worked on shows like Shaw's of Sunset, on Bravo, and just like all sorts of different TV platforms. I own my own production company in Jamaica, actually, and not Jamaica, New York, or Jamaica, the island.
Oh, okay.
That is super cool. So that's kind of kept me busy for over, like I said, a decade. But then I slowly transitioned out of that full time because it was just 20-hour days, 6 days a week. It just became very grueling, and I started. You get to a certain age in your life where you're like, what's my purpose? And asking God, how am I really helping other people? And so that's how somehow I transitioned into this world of writing a book, which is something I never even dreamed of.
Wow. So this is your first book, correct?
Yes. This is my first book.
Okay. And so what inspired you to write the book? Not to cut you off, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, not at all. Well, it was really just life and just who I am to my friends. I ended up just becoming a somewhat relationship counselor. And by no means am I an expert. By no means am I a professional. I'm just like a really good friend that gives great advice. Ooh. And it just happened to be, I was on the phone with one of my friends from Jamaica and I was giving her some advice, and literally she stopped me mid-sentence and she was like, no, Nadia, you need to write this in a book. And I was like, I do. I need to write this in a book. And I literally hung up the phone with her and I almost wrote this whole entire book. And so that's why when you mentioned before that it's a quick read, it really is.
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
just something that, you can get through in an hour. But I really, it's witty and it's funny and it's me, it's literally just my voice talking to my new friends. But I really don't want people to overlook. There are some gems in there, and the goal is to hopefully change some people's perspectives.
Yes, I definitely must say that you changed my perspective when I read it. Guys, the book just comes across like you're just talking to your best friend. It doesn't feel like you said before, it doesn't feel like it's this, author just sitting there writing just for, to entertain people and to sell a book. It really just seems like you're just being so authentic. And I really feel like your personality comes across in the writing, and I just felt like we were girlfriends forever. I swear.
Oh, thank you. That's like the biggest compliment. You don't even know.
Oh, So what made you come up with the name, honey? I love this name. I know why you're single, sis. Okay, what made you come up with that name?
Yeah, I mean, it was literally something that popped into my head. It's very strange. And like, I've heard other people say this before when you're getting inspired to write a book. It's nothing that a week before I wrote this book, I had no idea that I would be writing something like this. And I had no idea that I would title it, I Know Why You're Single, Sis. I really chalk it up to, for the past 2 years, really just working on my spirituality and getting centered and getting balanced, so you can just really hear that inner voice. And this is something that I do say to my friends. I'm not sure if I've actually said I know why you're single, sis, but pretty close. And I'm not sure if you have any Virgos in your life.
Yes, of course.
Yes, Virgos tend to be a little just brutal and straight to the point. So yes, exactly. That's something that I know about myself, and I'm trying to work on it a little bit, but then it's also what makes me me. And so this title just spoke to me. I know why you're single. Like let me just talk to you, and hopefully it will grab people and bring people in.
Oh, definitely. So the title of your book, when you said you embarked in the spiritual journey, was some of this experience personal?
Oh, for sure. Because I've spent more years single than not, even though I'm in a great relationship right now. A lot of these things I used to say to myself, and I used to, there was a time in my life where I always used to say, oh, I'm just picky. And, especially the breaking down the walls. I'm not sure if we wanted to read some of it or get into it, but there's this one page that's titled, If He Really Likes Me, He'll Break Down My Walls. And that was me every day, somewhat testing men.
Me too.
Yeah, just feeling like, well, if I'm worth it, he'll really jump through hoops, or, for all sorts of different reasons I was doing that. And, it just came to a point. And also, too, luckily, I had people in my life that gave me some of this same tough love. And I call it tough love for your soul. And it definitely started changing, my mantras that I used to tell myself. And lo and behold, my results started changing, and I started getting what I wanted, including, my relationship. And so definitely this is a personal part of it is personal. And then part of it is just some of my friends, some of the things that they go through, and I say to them, and it's just like a huge mixture of everything.
Which is great, because I always love to learn from people who've experienced it, whether personal or with, intimate people in their lives, because that's kind of how I coach as well. And just to chime in on that, ladies, when we're talking about that tearing down the part, and like I said, it's in the book, you will read a section where she talks about it's not a man's job to tear down a woman's wall. And I often will talk about that as well, because I had to learn the hard way that it wasn't a man's job, and I'm a Capricorn, so I'm an alpha woman all day.
Okay.
And you can only imagine how it is feeling here. I pray for my husband all the time. I'm like, Lord, he has the patience of Jesus himself, because I just know who I am, and like you said, we are all just constantly a work in progress. But I just always like to stress to women is something that I didn't know, especially in my 20s, is that, you know, that wall that you build up around yourself, it definitely can block, you know, bad things from happening to you. At times it can block you from getting hurt. But the disadvantage to that wall is it also blocks good things from getting to you. So it's almost like you're protecting yourself from both the good and the bad. And I'm so glad that you brought that up in the book, because it's just something that women need to understand. You're not hurting anyone but yourself when you're building a wall around yourself. And like you said, it's not a man's job. At half the time, he's not even strong enough or equipped enough. It takes God to remove that wall, because I know it did for me. I'm not sure about you.
Yes, no, definitely. Yeah. You know, and just like you said, it's a mixture for me, a little bit of God, and then also too those life lessons. You know, at the end of the day, I wasn't getting the results that I wanted, and I could sit there and say all day, "Oh, it's men. All men are dogs. This and that, and all sorts of things." But then I had to start realizing, you know, the only person I can change or control is myself. So let's go inwards and see what's going on there.
Exactly. So prior to meeting, you know, your significant other, what was your idea about love? I know we all have, like, some people say, oh, love hurts. You know, everybody has this kind of idea about love. How did you feel during those times of being single? I have a lot of single listeners right now, and everybody comes to me with different ways of looking at love.
Yeah, that's a great question. When I was single, and when I say I was single for years and years and years. I mean, I dated a little bit, but I was a career focused. Working, especially in the TV industry, your hours, like, unless you're meeting someone maybe on set, it's somewhat difficult. So compared to a lot of my friends that were my age who were already thinking of marriage and children and all sorts of things, that was never really me in my 20s. I think my idea of love, I always had actually somewhat a healthy, quote unquote, from my perspective, opinion of love, just knowing that, you know, it was something that is supposed to heal and not something that's supposed to be combative and passionate. Because what I noticed with a lot of my friends, a lot of people in our generation sometimes think that love has to be maybe a little toxic. Like, if you really love someone, you'll be willing to almost kill yourself. Or if you really love someone, you know, that whole thing. And that was never me. I was like, you know what? If that really is what love is, I'm okay by myself.
Yeah.
And it's so funny, that actually connects with one of your podcast episodes, The Single Life, that I listened to. That you were talking about, you know, when you're single, like, single can be a great, happy thing. And I actually was somewhat a happy single, you know, like,
which is
great. And I think it's important, I mentioned that in the conclusion of this book, single and happy, that's the goal. Happy, not to be in a relationship. So
100%, because if you're going into that relationship hoping that it's going to bring you happiness, you are in for a rude awakening.
Ain't that the truth?
That is too much baggage for anybody to be responsible for.
Yes.
Your happiness. But like you said, I talked about that in the previous podcast. Now, I noticed that you made mention here in the book that sometimes we, as women, we will focus on the negative aspects of a man and in turn attract the negative results. And I know I've touched on this. I'm really big on law of attraction and things like that. So I just want you to just reiterate what you mean by that.
Yes. When I said all men are dogs, which is probably one of the most common things that we say, you know, or not we necessarily, but women say about men, and it's just kind of like a flippant, casual thing. But when you really think about it, what are we saying, or what are people saying? And then in turn, what does that say about us? And I kind of play on the, you know, what is a female dog? And, you know, the B word that is attached to it. So, like, at a certain standpoint, if all men are dogs, does that mean all women are bitch? Or, you know, the B word. And right? And that's the whole thing, because at a certain standpoint, okay, are some men dogs? Yes. But at the end of the day, we